is the most recent case that I'm familiar with. The Arizona law, in my opinion, was framed by the governor and the legislature in the state of Arizona out of desperation. Desperation that the state was being overwhelmed and overrun by illegals, by drug dealers, by gangs, that murders and other crimes were rampant, and that the federal government, which has a responsibility under the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, the federal government had failed to enforce our immigration laws and had failed to secure the border. And if you're a border state and the federal government is not engaging in its fundamental obligation to provide for the common defense by securing the border, what are you to do? What are you to do? And I guess I would argue to the Obama administration, before you start suing the state of Arizona, why don't you present a harsh démarche through your ambassador to Mexico? And why don't you proceed to beef up the ICE and customs and immigration along the border so that the state of Arizona is not suffering from this invasion? It wasn't that long ago that Pancho Villa rode across the border with 100 soldiers, and we chased him back into Mexico with the U.S. Army. We're not talking about 100 soldiers. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people.
Mr. Schiff.
Well, what we need is an Attorney General of the state that's willing to challenge federal law and federal regulations on behalf of the citizens of Connecticut when what they do is outside the Constitution. And we need to make sure that judges are appointed who will actually have the courage to rule against the federal government when the federal government is in the wrong. Because so much of what the federal government is doing is unconstitutional. I don't know that individuals on their own can just unilaterally decide, I'm going to abide by this law and not that one. You have to adjudicate it through the courts. But in many cases, the individuals themselves don't have the standing or the resources to do that. But that is something that the Attorney General should do. And I know that's something that Martha Dean, who is running for Attorney General, repeatedly makes an issue in this campaign. And hopefully we can have her to replace Dick Blumenthal, because he has done nothing to protect us from the government.
Thank you. Well, that has gone by very quickly. We're now to the point where it will be 2-minute closing statements, and the first will be Mr. Schiff.
Okay, let me thank Enfield Grass Roots Alliance for putting this thing on, and I thank the moderator, the panelists, and especially Rob Simmons for at least showing up here and meeting me. Yeah, it's unfortunate that all the candidates couldn't be here, but anyway, I think that we are at a vital turning point. I think we have reached the last possible fork on the road to serfdom. And if we don't choose this path, we are going to arrive at that destination. And it is very scary for me as an American, as a father of a 7-year-old boy. And we have a brief window of opportunity to do the right thing. We have to embrace the free market principles that were enshrined in our Constitution. We have to remember what was the original source of our prosperity, and that was freedom. That was a lack of government. It was low regulations, low taxes, individual freedom, entrepreneurship, sound money. All these principles are forgotten. And we need to veer from the course that we're on. Unfortunately, the problems that we have, that were created by government, problems that I saw in advance when very few people did, the powers that be are using the crisis, the financial crisis, the housing bust, to justify a more expansive role for the federal government. They are blaming the free market on problems that they created. What happened was not a failure of the free market, but a failure of government's attempt to distort and regulate the market. So what we need to do is the complete opposite of everything that we've done. And I'm not, a politician. I've never been in government. I'm a private citizen. And the reason I'm running is because the career politicians who have been in Congress so long, like Chris Dodd, who I'm trying to replace, have done such a lousy job that I got to go to Washington and do the job for them. And I got to do what no career politician will ever do, and that's put the country ahead of himself. We have serious problems, and we can't solve them if you're worried about getting reelected. because there is a constituency and a special interest behind every program, behind every agency, and we need senators who are willing to take that on, who don't care how something plays in the polls, who are willing to do what's right. Unfortunately, we are in a serious shape right now. We need to swallow some bitter-tasting medicine. Somebody has to have the courage to tell the truth to the American public, because if we don't swallow that medicine, we're going to die of this disease, and we're going to have a much worse economic crisis in the future than the one that we just experienced. And so if I go to Washington, and the people in this room will send me there, hopefully we can head that off. Thank you.
Take 2.5 minutes. You guys were actually ahead of time.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the Grassroots Alliance for holding this debate. I want to thank Christine, Ed, and you, George, for participating. In particular, to Peter Schiff. We've been on the campaign trail for many months now, and it has been an exciting opportunity to exchange views, to present our vision for the future, and to react to our fellow citizens who constitute the audience and whose questions were presented here tonight. I have to express my disappointment that my party's endorsed candidate does not see fit to come here tonight, did not see fit to participate in a similar event a couple of days ago. I think that an endorsed candidate has a responsibility to the party and to the people to stand up and respond to questions, particular questions that are presented by the audience. That's just what I believe, and that's one of the reasons I'm here, and I'm pleased to be here with Peter. I'm also here with my wife, Heidi, and she and my daughter, Jane, and my son, Robert, have been heart and soul of my life and my family and my political career, because I believe that any public official seeking the support or running for public office has to have it in their heart to do it. It has to be a calling. It has to be something that wells up inside you. And she understands that, and my political career and my public service career have taken her many places, many difficult places. So I thank my wife and my family. And why do I do this? I do this in part because of my grandfather, Charles Simmons, son of an immigrant from Ireland, 14 years old, goes to work. Brooklyn, New York. At 18, joins his father to form a small family business. At 40, on the death of his father, he takes over this small manufacturing business. And before he died, in his 80s, he owned and operated 5 small family businesses. And he didn't come here, and his family didn't come here for a stimulus package. They didn't come here for a jobs bill. They came here for freedom and free enterprise and opportunity, so that they could use their hard work and their entrepreneurship to make a better life than what they had in Ireland. And I believe that American dream, the American dream that brought his family, your family, and the family of so many of us to this country, that American dream is at risk in America today, because the federal government is too big, it's too large, it's too powerful, it's spending too much money, and it's creating debt that is not going to serve us. It's going to be a burden to our children and to our grandchildren. And we as citizens have a responsibility to do something about it. Yes, I served in Vietnam. I was there in the Army. I was there in the CIA. I felt I was there fighting for freedom. And here I am, these many years later. I feel I'm fighting for freedom right here at home, in my home state, fighting for freedom. Fighting for the small businessman and woman who use free enterprise to support themselves, to build their community, to support the sports teams, to hire local folks. And small business is considered by this federal government too small to save. Oh, big businesses are too big to fail. We got to bail them out. Small businesses, they're just too small to save. And that's why the big corporates are still around with their stock options and their bonuses, and that's why small business in Connecticut today is 15,000 less than they were a year ago. We have to step up to the plate. We have to do something about it. We have to preserve and protect the freedom and the free enterprise that built this country over the last 200 years. That's what calls me to serve. That's what calls me to run for this office. I I thank you very much for your attention.
And actually, I want to give